Sunderland took another big step on their road to a massive resurrection, rising from the ashes, coming up from a horrendous double relegation and finally feeling like we are moving somewhere good. A 3-0 win at the weekend against Scunthorpe, and I am joined today by George Caulkin from The Times. How are you?
Well, I'm very well, which is actually I'm sort of not used to saying, covering North East football.
That's true. It's been a horrible couple of years. And Alex, how are you?
I am fantastic.
Good. You enjoyed the game at the weekend?
I most certainly did.
That would be your first of the season? Second?
First of the season, yeah. Hopefully first win of many more.
Yeah,
and
did you miss the game on Thursday?
I did, yeah. I did, sadly.
He's a half fan.
I didn't book my holiday for that week, unfortunately. If I had control over that, I most certainly would not have missed the Charlton game, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, that was a big one to miss as well. But
it was like.
Anyway, we'll obviously talk about the game this weekend. So a quick rundown in case you haven't seen the game, although if you listen to this podcast, I imagine you have. But just in case, we're lined up with a 4-2-3-1. John McLaughlin continued in net, Adam Matthews right back, Louvens and Baldwin were the two centre-halves, Oviedo played at left back, Max Power made his home league debut.
Max Power.
Yes. Homer Simpson's best persona, in my opinion. Lee Cattermole played with him, and then there was Maguire, Honeyman and Gooch behind Josh Madger. Goals were scored by Power, a header on the 22nd minute. Madger then added a second a few minutes later, and then Maguire finished the game off in 42 minutes, and we all sort of had to sit through a dire second half where Scunthorpe's only intention was to kick Sunderland.
Dire second half? Sunderland winning 3-0 at home, and you say that was a dire second half.
It's amazing how quickly we've become really ungrateful, isn't it?
It was a dire second half, though. Let's be honest.
Well, not a lot happened. Yeah.
So we'll just get straight to the nitty-gritty of the game. So what did we make of the first 11? Cattermole's inclusion, I suppose we'll start there. George, what did you make of seeing him on the team sheet?
So the first thing I have to say is that is the first time I've seen Sunderland this season. Hopefully it won't be the last, although if last season is a guide, I won't be seeing them too many times. So please forgive the ignorance, and I won't pretend to be an expert on a team that I'm not seeing very often. I thought they played well. I mean, it was a surprise, bearing in mind everything that's happened, to see Cattermole in the first 11, but...
Were you surprised how good he was?
I thought he was superb.
Because obviously you'll certainly read about Sunderland all the time, and you'll see in the reports about Luton last weekend where he
and I went to like the first press conference of the season and stuff, and I did a preview of the season, things like that, and when you see reports suggesting that linking him with Bordeaux or whatever it was, he was kind of linked with. To see him in the team was a surprise. He was outstanding, and I suppose it's something we've said about him over the years. If you have a switched on Lee Cattermole, if you have a fully focused Lee Cattermole, and I suppose most importantly, if you have a fit Cattermole, you've got some player. But he controlled the game, and he went in with a couple of tackles, sort of trademark tackles, which got people on their feet, and he was excellent. I mean, Lord knows what will happen, between now and the loan window closing, whether he'll stay or go. But he looks very, very good at this level. I mean, you would hope that would be the case, but he did.
Alex, what did you make of Lee Cattermole? My phone is just vibrating. I always tell everybody off when that happens, so I must apologise. What did you make of Lee Cattermole's performance?
Yeah, I thought he played very well. He was against Sheffield Wednesday in midweek. I was expecting him to turn out another poor performance again, but he was much better then, and he continued that form into today's game. My concern with Cattermole in Jack Ross's system is that he plays a lot more of like a fast-paced, free-flowing attacking football, and Lee Cattermole's game has never lent itself well to that type of philosophy in football. So I was really expecting him to just be off the pace, to just be a few miles behind the rest of the team when they're going forward. But no, he did all right, considering that he's normally a bloke who comes into his own when you're grinding out a tedious result against a better team in the league. Yeah, I was really impressed with him.
The goals themselves, I certainly thought that Sunderland had the edge after the first 5 minutes. They dominated the play early on. It felt like there was a gulf in class. I don't know if that was me just with rose-tinted glasses, George, but did you see it that way? Early going, the seem to be the more dominant team.
Yeah, if you're listening to this podcast last week, I would just say that tomorrow's game, the goals were really good, just because you got your day wrong.
Yeah.
So just to really confuse people. No, I thought they were at it from the start. I thought they dominated from the start, and the kind of lovely thing was seeing a Sunderland, and unusual thing was seeing a Sunderland team play with real energy and kind of ferocity and playing good football and absolutely zero fear at the Stadium of the Light. And, you know, all those things are very encouraging. And, you know, it's about time that place got back to how it was, you know, in the early days of the stadium, where it was a horrible place to go if you were an opposition team, and, you know, a daunting place to go. The limited things I saw last season, and certainly all the stuff the seasons before, it was somewhere that opposition teams wanted to come to and Sunderland didn't want to be at, and that was kind of patently obvious. I mean, it's startling when you think back that Sunderland won 3 home league games last season, 3 home league games the season before, and they've already won 2 at home this season. They've won their first 2 home league games. I know that's like a very basic statistic, but you can't negate how important that is. I mean, it's important for slightly different subject, but it's so important for the people here to have something to buy into on the pitch and off the pitch, but, you know, to kind of be rewarded for that. And that was one of the sort of joyful things about yesterday, was seeing a team in red and white stripes look like they gave a F-U-C-K. Don't know why I spelled it out. I may as well have just said it.
Yeah. Said it.
I should have just said it.
You've hardly sensed it there, really.
Sorry, F hyphen star, whatever, asterisk. That was stupid. You know, looking like they cared and looking like they wanted to be there and getting great support. And you had that sort of lovely relationship inside a stadium. Fans feed off team feeds off fans. There you go. That's how it should be. It sounds so simple, but
a winning combination.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
First goal, Alex, superb goal in my eyes. Better when I've seen it on the television afterwards, but brilliant header from Max Power. What did you make of his performance?
Can I do that every time? Or
every time.
Every single time.
What we'll do is just do it once and then we'll clip it in, and every
Max
time
Power
comes up.
I'm sure Sean will love having the task of doing that.
Yeah, you'll have to listen to him meticulously pick it out. But no, Max Power, his performance and his goal, what did you make of that, Alex?
I mean, the goal was just as good as the build-up play. You know, Brian Oviedo played an absolute blinder, and that cross was just one of many that he floated in with absolute pinpoint accuracy all game. And obviously that, you know, the finish was, like I say, just as good. The header was pinpoint right in the top left, I believe.
Sure.
And it was just a lovely goal.
Top
there.
left in my head.
Keeper's
right.
Yeah, keeper's right, top left. There you go. Yeah. But yeah, just a great finish.
Is Oviedo going to stay?
I do hope so.
You're the journalist.
Oh, shit, yeah, you're right, yeah.
Will Oviedo stay? I'll drop my text. Never replies to my text unless it's on a podcast.
Well, I've got no status, so I'll chip in and say something.
Go on.
Yeah, I mean, Oviedo could very easily go to a Spanish club, couldn't he? Or any, you know,
someone just a Spanish. Are you tipping Spanish? Well,
someone from the La Liga or Segunda could just come in and be like, you know what, Brian? You know, Spanish is your native tongue. We play a better standard of football than Sunderland do. So just, you know, come here. We'll pay you more.
Oh,
and that could be enough to just move him on. You know, we're really not in a great position to hold on to a player of that standard, because he is just so good in this league.
Completely.
If we do well hold on to him, then we've done very well indeed. But if he does go, then sadly you just can't be too surprised, because that is an asset and a half you've got in this league. Having him on the pitch yesterday was like having 12 players. You know, he could do all the job of a fullback and the role of a winger in one. You know, he could contribute defensively. He could get forward. He could pick out anything with a pass. You know, you need Nevada lost property there. You could just ask him to search it with a cross. It was absolutely tremendous. And it effectively as well gave Maguire the freedom to do more than just his role, because, you know, should he have wanted to sort of deviate from just being an out-and-out winger, Oviedo could have covered for him easily. So, yeah,
I'm with you on Oviedo.
He's a great asset. I think if there's a better fullback in this division, then you've seen something I haven't. So if you're in doubt, yeah, I'm a big fan of little Costa Rican.
He is on 42 grand a week though.
Well, so There you go. So I suppose that's the other side of it, isn't it? I mean, I don't know whether that means there's a...
I'm sure there's an Osasuna or a Getafe who can give him a little bit more, though, and a better standard of football.
They probably won't be able to give him more than $42,000 a week.
Well, they could give him a little bit less in a better standard. I'm sure he'd take that.
But he stands out. He stands out a mile. I mean, so hopefully he'll stay. But I mean, that is a shitload of money.
If they can't get rid of Catamol, I think they're going to afford to probably keep one of them. But if they can't get rid of Catamol, then
I think if you're picking between the two, you would definitely have Oviedo over Catamol. We're fairly oversaturated in midfield as it is.
Yeah, I don't think See, after Catamol's performance at the weekend, it's hard to say that he won't be part of the plans if they can keep him. But they've bought so many midfield players who are good.
McGeoch or Nean.
We've got Robson as well.
Robson, Embleton, Power, obviously.
Max Power. It's going to get so boring now.
Well, he does have a name you'd love to touch.
But you mustn't touch.
Good Simpsons reference. The other goals, Madja scored his third of the season, and the finish, George, for me, he looks like he's a natural in that area, sort of on the outside of the box. He seems to be clinical.
Yeah, no, great finish. Really good, and that's a fantastic start. That'll give him confidence moving forward. 3-3. That's you can't really knock that, can you? And nope, took it really well.
You seen his goals at Luton last time out as well?
I did. I can't remember them, but
Gooch played one in. He did
yeah,
finish.
that's right. Yeah.
He just looks like I think fans weren't sure what to expect from him, but he seems to be looking very good at this level. Certainly, I thought he's hold-up play seems to have come on leaps and bounds from last season, and his way he can control the ball. If it's under his head, if it's not a physical aerial battle, he generally seems to win the ball, which certainly for me, I was very impressed by that. The third goal, I think, was the best goal of the game. Would you say? Long ball from Baldwin. Maguire ends up getting on the end of that. Alex, what did you make of that one?
It was just a great team goal, and obviously the little bit of flick there was nice. Nice bit of finesse.
Nice 1-2.
Oh, yeah.
Between Gooch and Honeyman.
Yes, that was lovely, wasn't it? I'm trying to remember. I've got such a terrible memory. I can't remember. I clearly can't remember what happened
on the
yesterday.
thingy. I should have showed you all the...
You should, just to remind me what I was doing less than 24 hours
Well, I'll describe it and then you can imagine it. So Baldwin picks the ball up in his own half, plays a 60-yard crossfield ball to Gooch. Gooch plays a 1-2 with Honeyman.
Yeah.
And then plays it across to Maguire, who's in the box, who back heels it in.
And then what happened?
And then we scored.
And then what happened?
And then we scored with nothing.
No, everyone cheered.
Everyone cheered. Yeah, and then nothing happened the rest of the game.
Then what happened?
I went home.
And then
this
what happened?
Is this
I made ROKER Report TV.
And then what happened?
I uploaded it. I did distribute your goals.
Just living life. It's like
it was.
Then what happened?
I went to bed.
Okay, let's move on.
that was me. That was my day. I watched Match of the Day too.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Which shout out to Man City for being
very good at football. Yeah.
Very, very good at football.
Yeah.
So 3-0 at half time. Second half, expectation has killed them. In my head, I was saying to my dad, who doesn't normally go to the games that often, I was like, we need to kill them in the second half. But they didn't do that. They just won 3-0. But
well, they were kind of killed already, weren't they?
Yeah.
They're pretty much dead. Just would one more would have been nice. I know they missed a sitter as well in the second half. But the second half performance, can you see why they did that with the game on Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much football to come, isn't there? And it's, it is absolutely relentless. You think the Championship's relentless, League One it's more of the same, isn't it? So, took the foot off the gas a little bit. The game was won. Fair enough. Move on to the next one. I mean, and the first half was so good that I think we can allow them. that.
Yeah, no, I agree there. And with the big game on Wednesday, Alex, do you think the game management, it's one of them key phrases they use in football. Do you think our game management was on point?
Yeah, I'd say so. I don't think the second half performance being more underwhelming than the first was down to the team just suddenly lacking quality. I think they deliberately took the foot off the pedal in order to preserve the team for the next game. I mean, when you drop from the Championship, when you drop from the Premier League to the Championship, you trade a significant amount of quality for physicality, and I think you do that again when you go into League One. Teams get you see more and more shithousery and less actual talent in the game, and I think Jack Ross probably thought, we've killed them off. Their morale will be absolutely sapped. We're 3-0 up. Just steer the ship in the second half, see the game out, stop them scoring. If you score another one, another two, great. But ultimately, just don't work yourself too hard. and just save your energy from a play at Gillingham, because if you overly exert yourself now, then you're just going to have lumps kicked out of you, and you're going to be thrown around by a very physical team, one of many in this league. So just don't tire yourself out, and we'll be coming off the game better, and we'll be in a better place to play another game on Wednesday.
Let's just be grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was just about to say, I've got a couple of negatives to pick on there. So.
Well,
negatives?
Right.
No. This is a negativity-free zone. This podcast.
Well,
I was saying before we turned the mics on, I was saying that it was like I left the stadium, whatever time it was, 6 o'clock, 6:15, and I rang my boss just to make sure they got my report okay. And he said, yeah, I got it fine. So how was that today? And I said, it was great. And as the word was leaving my lips, I thought, Jesus, when was the last time I've said that? I mean, almost about any game, but certainly here. And we are talking about years. I mean, there's been some great occasions over the last few years, but the circumstances have never been great, have they? I mean,
No.
For the last few years. So, whereas here, sort of everything felt great. There was a good energy about the team. There's a good energy about what's happening off the pitch. For me, it was a pleasure to see friends and do the stuff that I kind of would normally do for a Sunderland game, and I haven't done enough of that kind of recently. I met my friend Lindsay beforehand. Lindsay, I'm mentioning her name because she listens to the podcast. So
shout out to Lindsay.
Hello, Lindsay. Your fantasy league football team is pretty shit, and mine is beating you by a lot. It's lovely to see her. And anyway, but it was all all the usual things that you do when you come to a game. But on top of that, you have that sort of positivity around the football and off the pitch stuff. And I really can't remember the last time I felt that coming to Sunderland and coming away from it thinking, yeah, it was good.
Does it feel like a different football club?
Well, so the piece I wrote was that was what it was supposed to be kind of about. For in today's paper was supposed to be about trying to sort of capture the mood if possible. And I met another friend of mine, Jane Moran, after the game, and she's in a sort of very difficult position with her family. She's always gone to the match with her dad. She's 54, and her dad's very poorly and may very well not be able to come back to the stadium. And she just sort of said this on Twitter on Friday night, and I saw that, and Stewart Donald also saw it. And anyway, fast forward a little bit, he went round to their house yesterday before the game and had a chat, talked football, and as he'd said to her in a little note, whatever we can do, we'll do. And she went to the match yesterday. She had to leave at half-time because she found it a bit overwhelming. She first went to a game in 1974, I think she told me, and that was the first time she'd been without her dad, it's pretty amazing. So she found the whole experience, sort of difficult, but loved the football. And she said to me, which I kind of thought was very poignant, she said, it felt like we'd lost our football club. Now it feels like we've got it back. Now, it's very early in this process, if we have to call it that, and we have to, I suppose, at every step, remember that it's not just new players like it is every summer, 12 new players, whatever it is. It's not just a new manager like it is every summer. It's also new owners, and the whole thing is new, and there are going to be, I am sure, there will be bumps on that road because there just have to be. There just has to be. But it is just really encouraging, and you just want it to, you want it to be last. You want it to last, sorry. And, it does make you think about sort of all the shit that has happened over the last few years and the stuff that kind of fans have gone through and all that kind of stuff. And those little connections, the reason I wanted to tell that story was, these little connections are really important. It's about a football club remembering who it is, what it's supposed to be. And, there's a lot of money in the Premier League, all that kind of stuff. But that personal connection is vital. A club is a group of people. That's what a club is. That's what it means. And Sunderland have to rediscover that, and it feels like they are.
Couldn't really put it much better myself.
Yeah. Spot on.
Could probably have said it quicker. But.
No, I quite enjoyed it. But no,
Max power.
No, I think you're right. I think from certainly our perspective at ROKER Report, it's been years since we've had positive news. And while we're only in the early stages of the season, we've got 7 points from 3 games. It does feel like it's different. It feels like we are finally rising for the first time. We are on an upward on a roller coaster after going down a very severe drop for a long time, and it does just feel good. I can't remember the last time I went to the stadium and I was looking forward to actually seeing the football. It felt like it used to be a duty. Like, it was like my church on a Sunday, and I was like, I can't be bothered to go.
Yeah. The football was the bit that got in the way. And seeing your mates was good, and all that.
Yeah, but I'm required to be in the stadium for 90 minutes just so I can say that I've supported them through the bad times. Basically, I'm as you say, it's a duty. It's like a service that you have to carry out in order to sort of validate yourself as a fan, almost.
Yeah, and it's something. It's just incredibly simple. I mean, I hoped that this would be the thing that happened last season, and it didn't, obviously. But that whole thing about, that sort of narrative that we were sort of all sort of forced to believe in, or sort of accept that staying up by the skin of the I'm sure we talked about this last time.
We did.
I'm sure. Well, I'm going to say it again, so don't shake your head. Don't look bored. I'm going to do it again. And now I'm going to make it last even longer. But that whole thing about staying up by the skin of your teeth being a miracle or being a great escape. Okay, do it once, it's a great escape, fine. But that became Sunderland's identity almost, and that was seen as a success and used as an excuse to kind of start again and things like that. The great lie of that is that what's important is, or what's nice is seeing your team do well, and it actually doesn't matter that much what the level is. And, everybody wants to be in the Premier League, of course, and everybody wants to see your team beat Man City or, whatever. But there is something incredibly valuable about just seeing your team win. And it's not happened often enough at Sunderland over the years to take it for granted. So that simple thing of being there yesterday and walking out the stadium, 30,000 people, it was extraordinary. But anyway, walking out that stadium thinking, I enjoyed that. That has been so rare that people have to get used to that again and enjoy it. Just enjoy it for what it is. Yeah.
When I used to leave the stadium in the past 2 or 3 seasons, I was so used to watching losses that I developed sort of like a reflex where as soon as I was out the stadium with my dad and my granddad, would just start talking about how awful the whole situation was. The first thing we'd do is bemoan all the different failures, whether that be on the pitch, whether that be in the boardroom, would bemoan everything wrong with the club as soon as we were done. That was just like a sort of like a weird like ritual that we like sort of subconsciously developed almost. And when I went to leave yesterday, I walked out, and then I think that part of the brain that would activate that reflex sort of it tried to kick in, and just nothing came out. I feel like I almost opened my mouth and just to utter something soundlessly and then close it again. It was just a very surreal feeling. So yeah, I think really I'm just so used to failure that I don't even know how to respond to success anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to take some getting used to watching a successful football club. It shouldn't need some taking used to. It shouldn't be surreal to watch a team, pipe another team 3-0, but here we are.
Yeah. Again, I agree. It is nice to actually be winning games. George, how was meeting? I presume you would have spoke to Jack Ross.
Yeah. So he was obviously did his press thing after the game, and I did a season preview mainly with Bob Murray, but
I want to talk about that later.
Oh, okay,
we'll bookmark that.
and went to Jack Ross's presser. So I've been to a couple. That's all I've been to. But he comes across very well. Seems very solid. He certainly isn't getting carried away. And I suppose more importantly than those impressions is the stuff that people are saying inside the building, inside the stadium. Clearly, I don't go to many games now, and I won't be able to get to sort of every press conference, but I do still speak to people, and what is really encouraging is the kind of feedback that comes back, and he's clearly very much part of sort of a new wave of managers and very hungry and very sort of ambitious. I don't mean that in a good way, as opposed to kind of a bad sense. And seems to be really good at what he's doing. I mean, so all the signs are encouraging. I mean, I've spoken to kind of people in Scotland, and he was seen as a really good thing there. And not that that's necessarily means anything. I mean, Sunderland has been a graveyard for some very, very good managers and coaches over the years.
And bad ones, i.e. David Moyes.
Yeah, and some bad ones. Yeah, and it's exposed some.
Got some very average ones too, like Simon Grayson.
Oh, I like Simon Grayson, mate.
Yeah, had a very respectable football league career, and we've totally thrown him off the rails.
Yeah, and it's very sad. I mean, I loved listening to Simon Grayson, because one of the things you got from him was the fact he really wanted to be at Sunderland, and he wanted to be a success. And I don't think that was a bad appointment in those terms.
No.
And I'm sure Jack Ross is sort of similar. He sees Sunderland as a step up, and I think that is an kind of important thing, because I think one of the things I really hated was hearing someone like David Moyes. I mean, to be fair, Sam Allardyce did the same sort of stuff, but he just did it in a different. He did it in a kind of more bullish and arrogant way,
capable of managing.
And he also was successful. So it was different. Whereas you got this feeling with David Moyes, oh yeah, they've chased me, they've tried to get me 4 times before, but yeah, well, I'm here. Yeah, now I'm here. And it was sort of, no, this should be. I mean, I'm blinkered to the brilliance of the Northeast, but I want people to want to be here. Yeah. I mean, it feels like such an obvious thing.
Yeah, you got this bloke coming being like, oh, okay, you finally got me.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay, I'll manage your club. If you really want us to.
I'll take you down. Go on then.
It's funny as well, because I think that's why people at Newcastle like Rafael Benitez so much, because even though he complains about everything, it's clear that he certainly the message he puts across, he's there for the fans. That's what he projects.
Well, so and for me, that's again with kind of just general sort of Northeast hat on. You know, we know that this is the best part in the world. We know that we've got the best football clubs in the world, or whatever. And you kind of want people to sort of buy into that. When Benitez came to Newcastle, the reason why that was important, it's not just this kind of CV side of it. He talked about the club in a way that even fans had stopped talking about the club.
Yeah. Because
he talked about stature, and he talked about history, and he talked about potential. And so he made people lift their heads, and it's, oh yeah, we could be okay. We could. And at a time when they'd been told that they couldn't compete with Southampton, and cups weren't a priority and stuff like that. This was a bloke who talked about potential and winning things. And, we do that, that sort of thing is important. I think there have been managers at Sunderland who've done similar things at the right, I remember when Roy Keane came in, and my God, he was like that electric charge under the city. And I think people from Sunderland quite often have a downer about themselves and have a downer about the club and things like that for kind of obvious reasons, the way things have gone over the past few years. And people need something. People need to see something, and they need to see a team that cares. They need to see people all that. But when you have someone that comes in and reminds you, and it's sometimes, quite often, it's someone from outside who does it and says, "Look, you've got everything. I mean, this place has everything," and what it takes is a bit of confidence and people lifting your head. It's a very powerful thing. I love it when that happens. Anyway,
have you had any conversations with the new ownership? Did you see them at the weekend?
No. Again, I was there when
you were there first day
for their first day presser and all that kind of stuff. And that's sort of been my limited involvement really around the place. They said all the right things. It's the same with anything. We're just going to have to, we'll suck it and see, won't we? But in terms of the way the team started and the way the team's been built and the manager they've got, can't knock that at the moment. Certainly can't knock the engagement, whether it's with you or the way they're doing it on a micro level in terms of individual fans, as we saw, as I saw this weekend. It's been really encouraging, and that connection had been lost, and I think people were, we'll see what happens. I mean, that's the first thing to say. Yeah. We'll just have to see what happens. But people were kind of very sniffy about them because of the level that they've worked at before Sunderland. It's, non-league, and Oxford United went, what do they? How? But I actually think that that attitude, if that's the right word, it might not be, but if you're at a club like Eastleigh, you'll know sort of everybody around the club, and you'll know all the fans. I mean, slight exaggeration. You'll know, and you'll realise that protecting those relationships is vital to keep that club going. They've brought that sort of attitude to Sunderland. So someone's complained about, I don't know, whatever, where their season ticket is this season. Stewart Donald has said, okay, well, DM me the details and I'll sort it out. And it's like, well, part of you thinks, well, what the fuck is the chairman doing that for? Has he not? But it's really good. And it's again, it feels like that. It's that personal sort of touch that has been lacking at the club. It's not that people at the club don't care. It's not that a lot of people at the club, people at the club have been there for donkey's years and are great people and know exactly what the club's all about. But from the top, it's felt very, very aloof, and it's been very difficult for supporters to look at their club and feel a connection to it, because it's been shit on the pitch and it's been shit off the pitch. And I don't know. I just think it's incredible. I think having that connection is great.
What do you make of his Twitter? Do you think he should keep it? Do you think he should bin it?
It's tied up to him.
Because we've asked him on the podcast, he says that he's not bothered by criticism. My main concern is there's an idiot who might go, Stewart Donald, useless because we lost 2-0 against Sheffield Wednesday.
Well, he'll get all that. He will, because that's what happens.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I thought, was like, will he get sick? But I think it's been good. Ultimately, just really good. I don't know, Alex, what do you think on that?
Well, I think, every football club has its fans who, for want of maybe a nice term, will use some less constructive criticism to have a go at something. It doesn't matter what club you support, you're going to have something on social media, and that's going to be the target painted on which these fans are going to start throwing the darts at, And if that's Stewart Donald's Twitter, then I'm sure he's very much aware of that, no doubt there'll be at least one game this season where we'll play disappointing, we could lose 2-1 to Fleetwood at home, and I'm sure there'll be a few people
that's like next month.
Yeah, there'll be a few people who'll pipe up and just go, "Oh, Stewart, you've not done this, you bloody FNC or whatever," and
so that's what I should have done earlier, shouldn't I?
Yeah. That's See,
as opposed to actually spelling the word out, which is what.
Yeah, which in no way senses the word itself.
No,
well, but there you go.
Well, I mean, there could be an illiterate child listening.
Learn something new every day. What are you going to do? But Stewart's going to be very much aware of that. He's going to be aware that representing the club on social media will effectively make you a target. And I think, as you say, George, it's entirely up to him. I think really all he wants to do is bridge that gap between the fans and the club. He's a really decent bloke. I just don't think he can do any wrong for me. I'm happy for him to keep his
direct. That is the beauty and the horrible thing about social media, is that absolute immediate direct contact. So, if you want to say something to someone, you can say it directly to them and all that.
Anyone can say anything to anyone if they want to. If Kanye West really wants to, he could say hi to us. He could do that. Yeah, theoretically. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but he's used it. He's used it to sort of almost as a not as a way to kind of run the club, but
it's a direct line, isn't it?
It's a direct line, and he's sorted stuff out, and he's dealt with people. And I saw a little bit of that over the weekend in a very, very kind of nice, poignant way. He's done something which will live with those people forever, and live with that family forever. And he's taken some time out of his day to do that. And I don't know. I just think
it's just nice.
You can't criticise that.
No, right. I am going to draw on 2 negatives from the game at the weekend. So
surprised you found 2.
I did. Well, first things first.
Boring what you are.
Baldwin had a rough challenge, to say the least, at 0-0. Could have been a penalty. I thought it was a penalty. So an area of concern there is we could have actually been 1-0 down. How could they have reacted to that, Alex? I don't know. But what do you make of the refereeing decision? Was it right or wrong? And B, where would it have went from there? Would it have been like the Charlton game?
Yeah, to be fair, I think the referee probably got it wrong. I think from where I was sitting, it looked like a penalty. I saw sort of Baldwin just go in, half shoulder
the bulldozer.
Yeah, half shoulder barge, half head butted the Scunthorpe player, and he went down.
I want that from a League One team.
Yeah,
half.
Not when it's in the box.
Nutting people, kicking the ball out.
Like absolute bruiser. Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
maybe it's not a League One penalty. Maybe I'm just.
Yeah, maybe that's just commonplace in League One. It's like if he broke a rib or something, that's a penalty. Come on, we're not monsters here. But
no.
No. I mean, but assuming that normal Football League rules apply, that is a penalty, and I think the referee did get that wrong. But I think even if they got it and they scored it, I think we would have won still. I just think, based on what I've seen from that Sunderland team, based on just the sheer quality we had on the pitch, we would have beat them regardless. I think, Scunthorpe just didn't look good. We made them look like absolute rank amateurs at times. Some of the players we had, Gooch was skinning everyone that he came within, a yard of Oviedo, like I've said before, could pick anything out with a pass. He could, sorted out all the Scunthorpe players who were coming to and from him. Max Power in the middle.
Max Power.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting that. Sorry.
He was, you got to be on your.
What you've done there, Alex, which I like, is you've turned a negative into a positive.
Yeah,
and I'm going to carry that on before you do your second negative.
Yeah, keep him at bay.
How pleasurable is it to see a Sunderland goalkeeper who doesn't have pasties for fingers?
He's correct. Yeah, that's a definite positive.
See, I don't know if John McLaughlin is a good keeper or he's an average keeper.
Doesn't matter. He's got 4 limbs.
Yeah, he's been tremendous.
When did we get a clean sheet last year? It took about November, December before we got one last year. So
I feel that was pleasant.
Yeah. Every time that we say now, because we're in League One, every time we say that a player is good, we seem to qualify the statement by saying at this level. But John McLaughlin at this level is being fantastic, and long may that continue. I'm sure in the Championship he'd be a very good keeper as well, or at least a competent one, which is more than we could say last season.
Okay, second negative. George, I'm going to throw this at you because you don't actually watch with that often.
Yeah.
But what did you make of the playing it out from the back? Because I thought at times it was a bit kamikaze. There was a few times they nearly got caught and they did get caught and didn't get punished.
Yeah, but I suppose, I know what you mean, and now that I can kind of replay that back, and you can think of a couple of passages where they were where the players were closed down, threw the ball to the centre half, the full back, and then got kind of closed down. You see that happen at whatever level. If you're watching Man City, there'll be games when the same thing happens to them, but they carry on doing it, and they carry on doing it, and they carry on doing it, and it becomes ingrained. And if you're good enough, then the theory is that it'll
be fine.
You'll beat that press, if that's what it is. And I suppose again, to turn that negative into a positive, it's a very positive way of playing. It's about bravery, and I thought Sunderland were very brave. It's incredibly new team. It's a new team. It's a new manager, and that was the third league game. So. Yeah. I think you are nitpicking because it's a 3-0 win.
I've got to find something.
No, and that's fine. No, would they have been? Could they have been caught out? Yeah, I suppose so. But I loved watching them play.
And I'm going to throw one final thing about the game. Actually, two. Firstly, Scunthorpe, were they really dirty, or was that just my eyes? Was that me just being rose-tinted Sunderland? Second half in particular, felt like they just decided to start kicking them when they knew they weren't going to get it.
Well, that physicality is going to be a fact of life in League One. It really is. So Sunderland had better get used to that. But I didn't notice that. But to be honest, in the second half, I've always got my head down and I'm kind of writing, so it's kind of a bad admission, but I was too busy working to actually watch the game. I was too busy writing about the game to watch it.
Yeah, well, at least you got that beauty for a journalist that when nothing happens in the second half,
I just kept my head down. That is the perfect game for a journalist.
Yeah, you get everything, all the storylines done.
I didn't really write about the game anyway, so I was slightly cheating, but that is no journalist wants a 3-3 draw or the 4-3. Nobody wants that. 3-0.
And
perfect.
I think that's everything I had. We've got a few Twitter questions. Firstly, you met Bob Murray recently, George.
Yes.
First thing I'll say is, do you think it's possible he would come on this podcast? Because I really want him on this podcast.
Yeah, but I don't see why. I think he would be good.
I've seen him at a talking, and he was really good value, lots of good stories.
Yeah.
So I personally would love, because I don't think his time at Sunderland's been that well documented from his perspective since he left in a lot of ways.
And I reported on the club for a lot of the time that he was there, and he got a lot of stick. And everything has its own context and the time. And obviously, one of the big things at the time was investment in the team and things like that. But when you take a step back,
you see everything.
And how easy would it have been to invest in the team when the stadium was being done? You know, we've seen the spasms that other kind of clubs have gone through when they've moved stadiums, or, you know, whether it's top. I mean, admittedly, it's a different ball game in terms of money now, but you look at the legacy that he's left in terms of the training ground, the stadium, and now the new beacon. I will say, so the reason I wanted to sort of do something with him was to kind of mark the opening of the beacon, and also to do a positive Sunderland story about how football can sort of change lives for the better. And I'd recommend anybody listening to go at the beacon. It's a stunning building from the outside, got a very square shape and all that kind of stuff. The facilities inside are extraordinary. The public can go in; they're very welcome. There's a little cafe in there, and you know, I don't know if it's fully open yet, but people will be able to hire out 5-a-side courts. Got 3G courts, 4G
on the roof,
4G pitch on the roof, yeah. And it's going to there's a educational segment, there's a workplace segment, there's a sort of health, well-being segment, and I think it's quite difficult to think about the foundation, any football club's foundation, because it feels like a very amorphous thing. Is that the right phrase? It's like, well, what is it? I mean, I know they're doing good things, but the fact it's got its own building to be the hub for all this is brilliant, because
it separates it from the club as well.
Yeah, because as soon as you walk in, you think, oh my God. And I'll get the stats wrong, but I think it's something like it'll touch 250,000 lives a year. For somewhere like Sunderland, it's a brilliant facility that will make lives better. Anyway, so yes, I wanted to talk to Bob about that. He was very interesting on the subject of kind of previous regimes. He was very hurt because he'd effectively been told he wasn't welcome at the club.
Which is weird, because he was life president, isn't he?
He is life president, and he wasn't well. So I haven't heard it from the other side, but the club didn't pay a penny towards the beacon, so they had to find completely sort of outside funding. They get benefits in kind from the club because obviously players will support it and all that kind of stuff, but Ella Short told him that he wasn't welcome, Bob says. So he feels like a kind of cloud's lifted, and I think it's time to reevaluate his everything that he's done at the club. I mean, the fact that, you know, even now, 21 years after the stadium opened, they have such great facilities.
It's all him.
And it's really all him.
Foundations were all there by him.
Yeah.
Has he been at the games this year? Has he been going? Does he actually live up here still?
York. So he's not far away, and he's what is he? Chancellor of York University or something like that. So he was doling out degrees and things like that. Well, one of the universities in York, I should say. So he's not far away, but he hasn't felt welcome. But I know he's met the new owners, and I know that they were very, very keen to re-establish links with the foundation, and it should be. I mean, that should be an umbilical link between the club and the foundation. Sunderland's foundation has always had a really good reputation, sort of in the game. But I mean, the new building takes it to a new dimension. So, you should ask him.
Alex, I know that you have to leave in about 5 minutes, so I will.
Actually, I don't leave until 25 past, so we're good.
All right, okay. Well, I was going to throw a final question at you, and then I was going to finish up the questions we've got for George.
Oh,
we'll just hope for the best. You just leave when you leave.
Sure.
Okay. Have you got something more important to do?
Someone's just come up in literally in the past 10 minutes or so. Right. So
he's got a better podcast to attend.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, I'm off to.
After Wise Men Say.
Yeah, and then I'm off the True Faith after that.
Bit of True Faith podcast, which you've done as well.
I have.
Well, I know he gives us a lot of stick, does Michael? Well, actually, he doesn't. He gives Sunderland fans stick a lot.
He does.
Yeah, he's a funny one, Michael.
Is he doing it on purpose, or do you think he is I don't want.
Well, he's not doing it by accident.
Yeah, I don't want to get you in like a slanging off.
No, he's my mate. But I mean, I would say the same thing about you. And I would say the same thing about this. Then makes. I mean, I don't. So this is my part of the world, but all that kind of crap just washes over me, and I wish it didn't exist. I realise it's such a huge part of our identity. It's never been part of my identity, and I've sort of. I mean, so like, for example, people taking the piss out of Sunderland for being in League One, whatever. So more of the, when I went to the protest outside Sports Direct that Newcastle fans did before that, and the people that were kind of saying this is stupid were Sunderland fans. So I spent a lot of time talking to, and it was in fact Gareth from Wise Men Say who came up with the phrase shop shouters, which I've used in print because I love it. It's very funny. But, and you sort of have this conversation. So you're trying to sort of explain the Newcastle context to Sunderland, and it's just like there's just zero empathy. And you do the same thing between, you try and explain. So it's like, so I wrote that piece today, and it's mainly about Stewart Donald visiting Jane and blah blah blah. Anyway, I'm sure the Newcastle fan hadn't read it, but he just said, I hope you're enjoying League One or whatever. I mean, it's like...
It's not in the nature of the two clubs to want to sort of empathise and, by extension, get on. It's like, well, our owner's got a moral compass. Well...
I mean, it's sort of... I was actually thinking about this on the way over. It's like, there is that... I mean, really, the only thing that's different is the colour of the stripes. And I mean, I know that's glossing over a lot of history, but... in terms of our geography, in terms of our economy, in terms of history of heavy industry, in terms of being mismanaged, in terms of 2 relegations each in the past.
There is a lot in common.
In terms of the teams not representing the support, in terms of all those things, that they're all in common. But if you particularly on Twitter, if you have like a Twitter debate, it's like never the twain shall meet. No. It's hilarious.
I'm going to put you on the spot with this question. It's not actually a question sent, right? Do you think that Newcastle fans would take the position that we're in to get rid of Mike Ashley and bring in somebody who would represent their ideal owner, like what we feel like we've got now?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
Well, I don't know, and I can't sort of speak on behalf of that. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, a lot of Newcastle fans, the same way as a lot of Sunderland fans over the years, want to go to the match, and that's what it's about. I mean, so would they take going down 2 divisions and what that entails? I don't know.
Probably not.
It's difficult. I mean, it's very difficult. I know some people definitely would say that, but
I think Championship probably and League One a categorical no. If I was going to, if I was going to bet on it,
and go. I mean, again, the same thing I said about Sunderland earlier. Going down to the Championship for Newcastle was really good. I mean, it was a Carlsberg relegation. It was you went down with Benitez and they went down with momentum, which is sort of unheard of, and it reminded people that losing every season isn't very good, and winning every week. Not bad. Yeah. And so that kind of refreshing of the kind of attitude was good, but obviously they've come back up with the same ownership, and as we've seen this summer, not much has changed. Whether they would take that, I don't know.
Okay.
Championship, I would say yes.
We'll switch over. I'll throw this one to Alex, since you see more of Sunderland than George. Josh Madger's place in the side has gone unchallenged ever since pre-season began.
Yep. With
Wyke soon returning, how does Ross handle that? And I suppose he'll also have Sinclair returning as well.
Yeah. You've got a lot coming back into the fold, haven't you?
Can you drop Madger?
Can you drop Madger? I think it's very... I think you have to try very, very hard to make a case for dropping a striker who's scored 3 in 3 games, who's got a goal a game. If his striker's on form, you don't just take him out, just to give another lad a chance. I don't think that's a justifiable reason at all. It is a lovely problem to have, really, isn't it? Which of our, really good strikers should we play? We can't play them all at once.
Oh no, we have too many good players. What are we going to do?
It's amazing how how problems just suddenly change, completely fundamentally. But no, I don't think you can drop Madger on his current form. No, I think if Wyke and Sinclair are coming back, I think while he's knocking them in every week, if he keeps doing that, they'll have to stay on the bench if we are just going to play the one striker, because you absolutely cannot take off a striker who's scoring every week in every game.
As you said, unchallenged. I mean, so looking at the subs yesterday, those are two big players to kind of come back into the squad, and once they're on the bench, they will be challenging him. And if he doesn't do it for a week, then you can take him out.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what you want. That's absolutely what you want.
You want that competitive environment on the training ground. Manager has to know that if we're playing one striker every game, he has to know that he has to keep scoring to consolidate that place. Wyke and Sinclair will be breathing down his neck to get his spot, and that's good for the team. That keeps them all raring to go. They'll all want to be a part of a team that's hopefully steamrolling an entire league. They're all going to want to be a part of that. If nothing else, it's a hell of a season to have on your CV. And it's just great for their careers.
Yeah, I think too, it means we'll not be rushing players back. How many times have we seen it before? Watmore last year?
Yeah.
Rushing back. Now we're going to be in a position where McGeoch doesn't have to come back in until he's ready. Wyke, the same. Sinclair, the same. List other injured players. We've got about 9 of them.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of strikers and Watmore, I'm very aware that I'm quite conscious of how little time I've got left in this studio.
Well, you're taking more time by telling me how much little time.
That is true, yeah, so I'll get straight to the point. Watmore, when he comes back, I think we might be in a position with him where we might have to consider making him our 4th striker, because given the fact that he's done the same cruciate ligament twice now, that's an injury that could...
He's not going to be quick, is he?
No, that's good. That is probably going to detract from, whatever his top speed was before. And, as a winger who thrived on really just sort of like cutting in and just breezing past the opponent, if he can't do that anymore, he'll have to reinvent his game to base it around one of his other attributes, because chances are he won't have the pace anymore. So, I don't know. I don't know what you think, but I could personally see him reinventing himself as a poacher. I know in his earlier days, with Altrincham and at his earliest times with Sunderland, he did play as a striker. I don't know, that's what I'm thinking.
Fair enough. Do you need to set off, Alex?
I do.
Okay. Well, it was good seeing you. And George, we'll finish up these questions and then
sure thing. Yeah.
you run away as well. So thanks for coming on, Alex. I'll turn your microphone off.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Right, George, we've got a few questions to go here. So here's a question. What do you make of the approach the new owners have taken with regards to fanzines? Sharing their time essentially with news updates. Is it good or bad for the local media, for the national media, for fans? I mean, a lot of... I think
it's been brilliant. I mean, what the local papers think of it.
Well, we had Phil Smith on last week, and he said that he likes it.
Yeah, and I think they've got a good relationship with him as well. Yeah. Clearly it sort of changes things, but then, so I think, back in the day, the only way a journalist would hear from people would be if you either meet them in the street but they probably wouldn't recognise you, or send letters in. I mean, that's, when I started, it was people sending letters in. Now I can put something, I can post my article on Twitter, and within 3 seconds I'm getting called a twat, which happens.
You're getting called brilliant.
Or
which
brilliant.
Happens
yeah,
more
or brilliant. You kind of tend to remember the twat one.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
But, so the relationship with all that's changed. And then we were almost old media, were kind of like the gatekeepers to the kind of club. And I mean, I think we still have a role. I think we still have a kind of role in all that kind of stuff, and what's happening here has been unusual. But I've loved it. I mean, I don't think, if you're in the sort of communication business, which we are, I don't think we can complain about communication, and certainly can't complain about it at Sunderland, where that's been a big issue over the years. The kind of lack of it. It makes things clear for all of us. It makes things clear for you. It makes things clear for the listeners. It makes things clear for us listening to it. I've enjoyed listening to it. I think it's really good. I mean, I suppose if Sunderland were in the Premier League and it was like this, and I was covering the team every week, I might feel jealous a little bit. But I mean, I mean that in a kind of nice way. But
do you think they can maintain this when they're in the Premier League? Because I mean, it's sort of uncharted ground anyway, because I don't know of any club where the owners do interact with the fans as much.
I hope that it's. I mean, you hope it's the start of something, and then it carries on, and that it becomes ingrained. Now, clearly, the difference between League One, Championship, Premier League, in terms of sort of scrutiny and in terms of demands on time become, extraordinary.
Yeah.
So would it be sustainable? Possibly not as frequent. And, suddenly if Sunderland in the Premier League, his Twitter feed is absolutely engulfed and swarmed. I mean, I know he's got like a locked account, doesn't he, at the moment? Private account, yeah. Sorry, private account. So does that, how do you sort of deal with that? I mean, it becomes a different thing. But no, I think they've set the tone, and I'm sure they'll carry on. And, fair play to them. I mean, it's been eye-opening. There were sometimes where you kind of wince a tiny little bit, but that's only because they're being open.
Yeah.
And we're used to it not being open. So we can't have it both ways. I think it's been great. Is it a challenge to media? I don't think it's a challenge to media on purpose. I think it's, so from my perspective, I'm not going to go to very many press conferences. I'm not going to go to very many matches. I wish I was, but I'm not. I'll get sent elsewhere. So I think it's really good that the club are taking the opportunity to speak directly to people. That why do it with you, not on the official club website? Well, because it's going to be much more unfiltered here. Yeah. It's going to be real here. That's not having a go at the club website, but it's going to be, they're not going to control what you're going to ask them, all that kind of stuff. And so it's probably a challenge to the club in some ways. They're probably challenging their own club and the ethos of their own club. Can't complain about it. Quite the opposite.
Craig B asks, quite a strong question here. Can we go an entire league season unbeaten? And what would be the market value of Josh Maja if he keeps scoring goals at this current rate?
Well, those are two impossible questions.
Yeah. I mean, they can theoretically go the season unbeaten.
Well, they can.
I mean, that is possible.
It is possible. It has been done.
It's probably not going to happen.
League One. I wonder when that was last done in League One.
I don't think it's ever been done. If I'm going to guess, I would say never in any Championship League One.
I cannot think. I mean, I'm going to say no to that one because I don't think that's going to happen. And it is brutal. I've seen enough of it, or one of the kind of things I love doing and that I've kind of been doing more and more of is going around the country and sort of trying to find small stories and give them a bit of space and things like that. So, for example, I went down to Accrington last season, now in League One. That is, if Sunderland fans can get on that trip, that'll be incredible.
I think you can get about 1,300 for that one.
Well, that would be amazing. When I was there last season, there was just almost nothing there. And I was down to interview one of their players, Billy Key, who has suffered from depression. He's a really nice lad, big, burly centre forward. It'd be great to see how Sunderland centre halves deal with that kind of thing. But I arrived there that day and they'd had a bit of storm damage, and there was this old fella on top of the club shop nailing bits of tarpaulin back on or whatever, felt on the roof, whatever he was doing. And he was 71 years old, and he was one of the club directors. And he said, "Hey, I bet you don't get Bobby Charlton doing this at Man United." And it was just brilliant. And it was like brilliant. But Sunderland will get, they'll have experiences like that, which is fantastic to be at. But there'll be some brutal days this season. There just has to be.
Do you remember seeing the video of the fans at Wigan donkeys years ago where they were sliding down the away end at Springfield Park?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. A whole season unbeaten. 3 games in. I'm not going to make that prediction. And same with Madja, what we've seen so far has been great, but
you never know, do you? I think Mumba's probably the one who's going to go for a fortune if anyone is. It's 16-year-old to be playing in the league.
Yeah.
I've got a question here, sort of linking back to Newcastle United. So you cover Newcastle United a fair bit, but you're obviously at the game on Sunday. What sort of feeling do you get from being around the ground at both clubs on a match day, and how is it different? Or is it different?
Well, so over the past few years, it's been uniformly negative here. I suppose the match day experience.
100%. Oh, I can vouch for that.
So it's universally negative. It pretty much has. I was going back to look at, so 3 league wins last season at home, 3 the year before in the Premier League, and I think it was 6 the year before, 5 the year. And it's, it's what else can you say? I mean, it's like it's not been good.
Yeah.
At Newcastle, more recently, there's been that feeling. It's like there's this feeling of real frustration because on the one hand, they've got Benitez as manager, and there's a huge amount of love for him inside the stadium. But there is that knowledge that for as long as he's there, the team will get better. But kind of almost bigger than that, looming over that is the fact that as long as Ashley is in charge of the club won't improve. So you've got those two big dynamics. There's real, oh God, we're so close to something, but frustration on top of it. So I mean, it's not sort of exactly the same, but there are. I mean, I suppose then you take even further steps back. There's that feeling: why is this? Why aren't these places? Why aren't I watching 2 teams at the top of the Premier League? I
know. At one point, it looked like it might happen in the early 2000s. Didn't quite move out. Graham Field asks, "What is the general view from people you've spoken to nationally about where we'll finish in the league this season?"
Finish in the league? Well, I suppose
has to be champions, doesn't it? From my perspective, is anything less than winning, it's a failure.
I suppose. Although, if I rewind to a year ago, when talking about Sunderland and what might happen, you think, okay, well, this could be the making of the club, it could be the making of the team, have that refresh, blah blah blah. I think when people from the outside see the team go down twice, there is that feeling that there's just a trapdoor open beneath the club. So, when I go down and interview people elsewhere around the country and talk to them and say where I'm from, people will always say, blimey, Newcastle, what's going on there? And then they'll say Sunderland, that's a real shame and that's a real pity. So, but you always, I mean, in terms of where the team will finish, I don't know, because it feels like, I think for everybody, it's felt like such a sort of step into the unknown, as I said earlier, new owner, new chairman, 12 new players, everything's new. So I kind of almost, you just want to sort of take a step back and do it game by game. And I know that, that old thing, and just enjoy this feeling and hope it lasts.
There's another question from Tony Hyson, kind of similar. Have you spoke to any other club chairman, managers, players about Sunderland this season, and what's the general consensus?
No, I mean, not specifically.
I've been fishing out going, what do you think of Sunderland?
No, and
not giving them a call.
If I'm talking to them, I'll be talking to them about I'll be talking to them more about their clubs. I mean, I'm going to be doing something regularly with Notts County this season, and was down last week, and Kevin Nolan's the manager, and obviously played for Newcastle, but
they got hammered, didn't they?
They lost 4-0. Yeah, which is I tend to take
this weekend. Or was that on midweek?
No, on Friday night.
Oh, it's Friday night, wasn't it? I thought it was
favourites for promotion. I'll start watching them.
Yeah,
haven't won a game this season.
Well, don't come back.
But yeah, they and he mentioned, it's like, what's happened there? There was that feeling, what's happened? I mean, what's happened? And I keep in touch with Martin O'Neill, things like that. He always wants to talk about Sunderland. He always wants to gossip about Sunderland. That's something that's stayed with him.
It's the one that I wish happened.
It burns him. What's happened? It absolutely burns him.
What do you mean? What happened to him, or what's happened since?
No. Well, what happened to him? What happened to him? I mean, and what happened to him, and the fact he had that real. Well, he didn't do enough research. He's an incredibly diligent bloke. Probably too much. He deliberates over everything in terms of taking jobs and signing players and things like that. It's the one that really hurts because he had that kind of real personal connection to the club, and
it's his only failure, isn't it? As well,
pretty much. Yeah.
It is. It is. I remember when he took the job, I was like, yeah, he is a Sunderland manager. I've always thought that Martin O'Neill was a Sunderland manager. Yeah. And same with David Moyes, actually. I always thought David Moyes was, but Martin O'Neill in particular, and when it didn't work.
Well, it was so sad that it was like and it ended, by the end of it, it was like, I think I would never say given up, I don't think that, but he'd realised that working with he'd been taken to meet, he described it to me at the time as some Italians that Ellis wanted me to meet, and it was Defanti and people like that, and it was like, what's he going to make of people like, what is he, and have a sense of, is this sustainable, what's happening at this football club and things like that. You'd look at kind of wrong steps and wrong forks in the road that the club sort of took. I mean, I think the way the club was back then, anybody would have struggled to kind of thrive in those conditions. But yeah, it hurts. It really hurts him what's happened, and the fact he wasn't able to sort of deliver what he wanted. I mean, I remember his first press conference. He was being asked, what kind of football do you want to play? And he talked about Barcelona. I mean,
and it wasn't that.
And it definitely wasn't that.
Yeah, it is upsetting. I mean, I suppose why did Sam Allardyce work? Why was Sam Allardyce the only one during this Ellis Short era, well, certainly since Steve Bruce left, the only one who really got it right? What do you think he did differently, or how did he get by what was a calamitous ownership? How did that work?
Well, so I suppose we have to think it worked, but in that very limited time frame. So he came in when the team was in the shit.
He was likely to go, wasn't he, that summer? If we're being honest, he probably wasn't going to stay.
Yeah. And well, the sad thing, I mean, we look back and say that was a turning point because there was real momentum behind the club. But what was happening behind the scenes, I'm not sure that's true. And he said in public, whatever it was, my patience is wearing thin, or whatever it was. And he left, Moyes came in, Short put the club up for sale. So, and Moyes hadn't known, had he? And so, again, would Sam have, I mean, would they have gone down under Sam? I don't think they would. No. But
he wouldn't have stayed. I mean, he's already
but I mean, I think things were going badly wrong behind the scenes already. Well, he had a brilliant window, didn't he? I mean, that was the one time over the Premier League, sort of over those Premier League years, you look at the players that came in and every one of them worked.
And he probably one of the best January transfer windows probably ever from any team. It was perfect, wasn't it?
Kirchhoff, Khazri and Kone. Yeah. And then it's weird about, you look at how their careers have gone. I mean, Kone looked so good, and he got a tune out of them, and he's a manager who gets that sort of little kind of percentage improvements. He brought in, I mean, I was very lucky. I sort of did a couple of things with him behind the scenes and saw them, surrounded himself by those staff. But he has that kind of reputation as old school, bluff, arrogant, sort of, there's bits of unpleasantness. I'm laughing because it's kind of quite funny, but he surrounds himself with people who are better at their jobs than he would be at their jobs, if you know what I mean. So he doesn't want yes men. Very creaky chair.
I know.
He wants experts who know their stuff, and that's kind of very admirable and quite rare. I mean, maybe it's not rare, but it's kind of quite admirable.
I always felt that Allardyce was it felt more professional in a lot of ways. Like they had I forgot what they're called, like the ice sort of freezing
I had to
cold
go with that.
chambers.
Yeah.
I remember you doing. Did you do it with Defoe?
No, I mentioned the fact that he'd sort of done it or whatever, but I had to go with that.
How was it?
It's fucking cold.
Really cold.
Yeah, really, really cold. really cold. That was the thing that stood out for me. It was really cold.
The coldness.
Really cold.
The final ones here is somebody's asked, I don't know how much you know about Stewart Donald, Charlie Methven and Juan Sartori. I'll ask you bluntly, do you know much about them?
No.
Okay, so asking you what you think the strengths and positive characteristics are of each would probably be a difficult one to answer. But I will throw you Stewart Donald because you probably have seen a lot. What do you think his strengths are, the positives that he has, and even the negatives are?
Well, I mean, I'll probably just repeat myself, really. I mean, I think the big strength is that he's not Ellis Short.
That's a big strength.
Which is a statement of the obvious, but the club was desperate for something new, and for a bit of enthusiasm, for a bit of vision, and to take a different path, and they've done that. So, and he's done that. So, and again, the communication I think has been excellent. The engagement has been excellent, and we can't kind of complain about any of that. And as I said earlier, I think I think the experience of kind of lower league football was seen almost as a negative when they took over, or was certainly was from some quarters. Will they have enough money? Will they be overwhelmed by Sunderland? Sunderland has to think of itself as a League One club now. I mean, you look at stadium, number of fans, training ground, all that kind of stuff. It's not a league, but Sunderland will wish its life away if it just keeps thinking, we should be in the Premier League.
Yeah.
They have to focus absolutely on where they are and deal with it. And so far, so good. And they've got, as I say, they've hired a manager who is seen as a really good thing. Great kind of feedback everywhere. And maybe you would be able to kind of talk about the negatives a bit more, because I mean I haven't seen much of it, but
negatives so far. It's hard to really pick out. I think one of the things that they did say was early on, they said on this podcast that they had a 14 million budget, which I think got misconstrued as people thought it was a transfer budget.
Right.
Sometimes there was been a clarification. A lot of people have been asking about sort of financial things, and I don't know if that's their lack of clarity or people's suspectness on it. I don't know. But ultimately, I think it's been
good. And the money, the money side of it is Sunderland are in an absolutely different ballgame now. I mean, they had a billionaire,
and it didn't work.
Who wasn't interested.
Yeah.
So
it's one of the things I always have with my Newcastle supporting family and friends is I don't know why you necessarily want money. It's not the answer. Always look at Burnley. Are Newcastle or are any team that isn't in the Big Six going to actually be able to compete with the Big Six? The answer is probably no.
No. I'll answer that so directly about the Newcastle thing. Is it all about money? No. But
everything else.
But if Mike Ashley says in a direct quote, Rafa will have every penny that this club generates this summer, that was minus 18 million, which is clearly bullshit.
Unless the club made a loss.
Well, unless the club made a loss, but they didn't make a loss on transfers. And if it's every penny the club generates,
I don't know what Newcastle's I'll be totally honest. I don't know what their financial situation is. I do find that I don't want to spend sort of Sunderland podcast talking about it, but I do find the situation interesting. At Newcastle, because obviously we had a similar situation, and one thing I would say is admirable is that they have managed to organise a protest, whether or not you agree or disagree with it. They have done it, whereas we sort of had, I think the situation at Sunderland was far worse, and for that reason we had apathy.
Yep.
And I think that's something that, from my perspective, is the Sunderland fans almost didn't act, but that's because I don't think it's in our nature to necessarily, protest. I think Newcastle fans are a bit more like that. They are a bit more volatile.
There's maybe a bit more of it, but really, both clubs are terrible at it. I mean, and I think, if you compare sort of what's happened, or if you compare what happened at places like Liverpool and the Spirit of Shankly sort of stuff, and then the anti-Glazer stuff at Manchester United, there's a much greater sense of militancy in other clubs at other part of the world. Now, why is that? I don't really know. I think part of it is because I think the loyalty thing feels like, to me, that feels like the thing. There is this thing about you turn up, you support the lads, you sing. And so the idea of then protesting is quite difficult to get your head around. And, you'll get a kind of a surprising amount of people who'll sort of say, look, I just want to go there on a Saturday. I want to be there with my mates and I want to watch the team. And that's the end of it. And so you get kind of a lot of people like that. I mean, I wish that both fan bases were more militant, because if you think about the noise inside the Stadium of Light on a good day, so I suppose I'm talking about a long time ago now when it was full and noisy, there's never been anywhere more hostile than that I've experienced. I mean, really hostile.
Oh, but are you talking Peter Reid?
Yeah. I mean, genuinely hostile. Same thing at Newcastle on a good day. Even now, when things are good, whatever, when it's a good day, it feels like a force of nature kind of place. Both sets of fans have that in their armory. I mean, I want to watch football. I mean, I wouldn't want to watch football anywhere else on those days. But there has been that kind of reticence to protest. There have been, obviously, I think Sunderland fans were very slow to sort of anti-yellow short chants, but again, I think that's because people gave him the benefit of the doubt, and they always wanted to believe that he was doing stuff in the right interests of the club, and he was just misguided. And
I still actually believe that he did have the interest of the club at his heart.
He might have done, but there's only so much you can. Oh yeah, there's only kind of so much you can forgive, and I think that moment went a long time ago, and I'm really pleased he's gone. I mean, I have to say, I'm pleased he's gone. There were too many little nicks to the club's prestige and what it stood for, and I become very misty-eyed when I'm talking about things like that. But the club had lost sight of
what it was
and why it was founded, and the history and things like that, and people had forgotten how to be proud about Sunderland. And it's similar at Newcastle. Newcastle, I think, are seen as Newcastle fans are seen as revolting. That gives you a chance to come in with a little punchline there. Newcastle fans are revolting.
Well, they are.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like,
needs a bit of work.
Missing the song? I was like, I don't know.
No. So that they revolt. There's always this permanent state of revolt there, but there isn't really. But there isn't at all. But on those occasions when it's been really noisy, it's very powerful. It just doesn't last. People get it out of the system, then it's gone. I think it feels like there's a bit more of a sea change against that, and I wish the Magpie Group and the rest of them well, because I will never ever criticise fans for standing up for their club and for wanting better. From outside of the region, and probably between Sunderland and Newcastle fans, that gets seen as what gives you the right or whatever.
Yeah.
But both sets of supporters warrant better than they've had over the last few years, and it's because of negligent ownership. Okay,
we're going to pretty much wrap up now, even though we could have sat and talked probably for another 4 hours.
We could.
But I am going to wrap it up. But before we do, we have got a game on Wednesday against Gillingham, and I am going to ask you for a score prediction, because I always do.
Well, let's hope it's another win.
I'm not hope. We're going for a prediction.
Yes,
here.
okay.
You give a declaration of a score.
All right. Well, I'll say 2-1.
2-1.
Sunderland.
2-1 win. I can get behind.
I don't know anything about Gillingham, I have to be honest.
Yeah, I've got that problem all season, to be honest. Every team I've played, I've been like, yeah, we should beat Scunthorpe, but I know absolutely nothing about Scunthorpe, but it should be a win, because it's Scunthorpe, and why wouldn't we beat Scunthorpe? And I've done that with every game. Apart from, I knew a little bit about Charlton, but they're a big sort of team. Yeah. Portsmouth I know a little bit about, because you do keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
But everyone else, Fleetwood, I couldn't tell you one player.
I couldn't tell you where in the country that is.
Blackpool.
All right.
It's next to Blackpool, okay. I think. They're called the Shrimpers, aren't they?
Yes,
they played Highbury.
Right. That's right.
Yeah,
I knew that, really.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of other ones like that. AFC Wimbledon. Could I name a player? No. I can only name players of. I can tell a Scunthorpe story, because they were top of the league a couple of seasons ago. They're always up and around.
They've been. I mean, and so that's why. I mean, I don't know. I have to be honest. I've not paid attention to them since doing that piece, really. But they were a good, solid, big team, not full of stars or anything like that. But I mean, I think knocking them over 3-0 is kind of pretty impressive, because they're well used to this level. So I'm trying to think about how I can tell this story. I mean, I have done the swearing thing already, but
just do it. You broke the rules.
Well, I'm not gonna like swear, but I spoke to the owner or the chairman, who said that he has a real problem.
Is this at the weekend?
No.
Oh, no.
No, this was ages ago. This was like a couple of seasons ago. So I spoke to the manager, or whoever it was at the time, and the captain, and spoke to the chairman, and he sort of said one of Scunthorpe's problems is that if you're trying to drum up interest in the club, if you're trying to get sponsorship and marketing, stuff like that, he says he sends out emails from his official email account, and half the time they get bounced back because of obscenity.
Oh, I see.
See what he's getting out there?
Yeah.
Scunthorpe.
It's the bit before the hope. And
there is. Yes, yeah. So I thought that was quite funny.
Why don't I just change it to Scunny?
Scunny.
Or Iron Brew or something.
Yeah.
Because the other
could do that.
I know that fan site's called the Iron Brew or something, or Iron Brew.
What? Iron?
Yeah, but the fan website's called Iron Brew.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, because Iron Brew. Get it? Yeah. Clever. Not Scottish. But.
Okay.
Right. We are going to wrap it up. So thanks, George, for coming on. It's always a pleasure to speak about Sunderland and North East football, to be honest.
It's been brilliant. I really enjoyed it. Good luck.
You should get yourself down at Blythe Spartans, actually.
I do. I sponsored a player. I sponsored the player and manager at Blythe Spartans a couple of seasons ago.
Well, do you sponsor them now?
No. I love Blythe. I love Blythe Spartans.
How often do you go?
Very, very rarely. Almost
when was
never.
Last time you were there?
Oh God, putting me on the spot. I didn't go last season. I've gone a couple of times the season before.
That'll be the promotion.
Yeah,
they were going.
And Tom Wade, it's a fantastic fella. I love Tom Wade.
He's a family friend of mine, actually.
Is he?
Wade, yeah.
I loved him. I did a piece when they had that amazing cup run.
Oh, Hartlepool.
So I was there for that game, and then previewed the game against.
Go on.
Birmingham.
Yep.
Birmingham. And he was a great fella, and I kind of fell in love with him a little bit in terms of that sort of just proper old school North East football, just lovely
Ah, he loves
Lovely fella.
He was up at Ashen last. That was where he last was at. With Steve Harmison.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
But I don't know what. Oh, actually, he's a scout for the FA now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Proper fella.
Yeah. And were you there for the 0809 Cup run, Blackburn, with Sam Allardyce?
I may have been, but my memory for that is not.
It is 10 years ago now.
It is 10 years. I would try and go and see. I would try and go and watch them once a season.
Okay, well, if you ever want to come down on a Tuesday or something, that's probably the best time for you, isn't it? I imagine.
Probably, yeah.
Give us a shout, because I'll give you a tour and everything.
Oh, who's the brilliant player? Robbie Dale.
Yes, Robbie Dino.
Robbie Dino. I'm sure his mum owns the.
Yeah, he runs
a pub just around the corner from me.
Yeah. Oh, do you live in Gosford?
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'll not give away more of your address. I'll not mention the pub. Okay, thanks for coming on, George, and thanks for talking Sunderland, Newcastle, Blythe, Ashington, everyone else in between protests.
Loved it.
And all that. And thanks, Alex, even though you're not here for...
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah. Dropping your pills of wisdom.
Max Power.
You remembered my name!